Hi everyone, I'm Jeremy Hansen. We're live here from the Canadian Space Agency in Saint-Hubert. It's been an extraordinary couple months for me after being assigned to the Artemis II mission, this historic opportunity for humanity to start flying back, a return to the moon. And I'm extremely honored, absolutely humbled to have been asked to be a part of this mission, joining my crewmates, Reed, Christina, and Victor. And we're aiming for November 2024. The four of us are going to board this incredible rocket, the SLS rocket, and fly the Orion spacecraft around our planet Earth. And then if everything's working well, we're going to take that capsule and fly it around the moon. Just really looking forward to that opportunity. I guess what I'm really excited about is this journey with my friends, but also this ability to, the opportunity to see our planet from space, something I've been super excited about for many years now, and then eventually leave it far enough away to see the entire blue marble of Earth hanging in space. Eventually the moon will get big in the window, and then eventually we'll see the Earth from behind the moon, the Earth from the perspective of the moon. That's going to be just something that I know is going to touch my soul. So I think now it's time for Ask Me Anything. So I'll answer some of the live questions you have later on, so you can start sending them in. You can put them in the chat, leave comments there. But we've already received a few questions from you over the past couple of days. I'm just going to start with those to give you time to put some in the chat. Merci d'être avec nous aujourd'hui. C'est parti. So Arian, first question's from you. You're asking, what first made you interested in space and being an astronaut? Yeah, it's interesting for me, Arian, that this is a very distinct moment in my life. It's kind of imprinted on my brain. I actually have pretty clear memory of it. I was young. My mom tells me I was 5 years old. I don't really remember the age, but I do remember I was looking in Encyclopedia A. So Encyclopedia were these books we had before the internet, and in Encyclopedia A was airplanes. And so there were great pictures of airplanes and descriptions of them, and I would spend a lot of time as a kid flipping through those pages looking at the airplanes. And one day I flipped mistakenly to Armstrong. Neil Armstrong, the first human to walk on the moon, and there was an image on that page, and I can still see it in my brain. When I close my eyes, I can see that encyclopedia, the image of the astronaut standing on the moon, and that just flipped a switch in my head. That blew my mind that humans had left our planet, traveled to the moon, left boot prints on it, and come back safely to Earth. And so from that moment on, I just decided I wanted to be a space explorer. I wanted to fly airplanes and I wanted to fly to space. And I turned my treehouse into a rocket ship. I added dials and switches. I lived on a farm, so I got some circuit breakers out of the barn, old ones to use as switches. I drew pictures of our solar system on the walls of the treehouse. I had control column in there and dials made out of popsicle sticks, and I was going on space missions. So it's something as simple as a photo in a book can inspire somebody to pursue a dream. And I think the other thing I'd add to that is, I did something very important. Is I didn't just keep that to myself. I shared that with other people, parents, mentors, teachers, and those are the people who actually guided me throughout my life to achieve this goal. Une question de Chris sur Twitter. J'ai lu que la mission devrait durer entre 8 et 10 jours. À votre avis, ce temps est-il suffisant pour tester tous les systèmes? Alors Chris, oui, selon l'équipage, on a assez de temps pour faire tous les tests de la mission Artemis II. Et on pense qu'après 10 jours dans la capsule Orion, on va être prêt de sortir de la capsule quand on arrive en l'océan. Pour les premières 24 heures de la mission, on va être vraiment occupé. On a beaucoup de faire les premières 24 heures parce que dans ce temps-là, on va être en orbite de la Terre et on doit tester tous les systèmes une fois avant qu'on départ l'orbite de la Terre pour la Lune. Parce qu'à la fin de la première 24 heures, on peut retourner sur Terre si nécessaire, si on a des problèmes. Alors, ça va être un temps vraiment occupé. Mais après ça, on va avoir à peu près 8 jours pour tester le reste des systèmes sur Orion. Alors, on est certain avec l'équipage qu'on peut accomplir tout. Next question here is, what happens if you get a migraine while en route to the moon? And do you have a first aid kit on board the spacecraft? What happens if something more serious happens? Well, these are things that explorers do have to think about. We will definitely have a small medical capability on board to handle little things like a headache. One of the things that we do right now to manage medical problems is we screen astronauts. Every year we're looking at them and making sure we keep them really healthy so that we don't send medical problems to space. So that's kind of our number one strategy. But if we do have a problem in space, we do have a kit that we'll use. And if we have a much more serious problem, we have to deal with it until we get back on Earth. So just like we have to test we have the first 24 hours that I was talking about to test the capsule before we leave for the moon. We also have to make sure we as a crew are ready to go, because once we leave on that 8-day journey from the Earth around the moon and back, there really is no way to speed that up. We are committed to that full 8-day journey, and that is just one of the risks of space exploration. All right, Amanda on Twitter is asking, will there be any science experiments on your mission? If so, what sort of training do astronauts get for them? You know what's interesting, Amanda, is this is the first test flight of the Orion capsule. So we won't have a lunar lander with us. We won't be going to the Gateway, which is a space station we're going to build around the moon to do science. We won't be going to the lunar surface to do science there. And so we will be very limited in how much mass we have to carry things. And so our science will be limited. We suspect there's going to be some sort of like microsatellites that come along the journey with us. We hope that there'll be some science that we can bring, but we don't know yet. Just depends on how everything comes together. We will definitely we're already working with geologists. The crew spent 5 days with geologists recently talking about lunar science and what we'll be able to see on our journey and what they would like images of, things that they don't have, that humans did not see during the Apollo program. They think that we'll be able to look at some things for the first time with human eyes, and they're very interested in that. And then on top of that, we are the science experiment. So the human body is a great opportunity for us to study the effects on deep space on humans. So we have a lot of data on astronauts living on the International Space Station for even up to a year, but we don't have very much data, and certainly not current data, on humans in deep space. And so there'll be a team looking very closely at how our bodies react to that deep space environment. And it is very different. One thing that we know is significantly different is the radiation environment. So good old planet Earth has this great magnetic field around it, and it protects us from a lot of the space radiation. That's what allows us to thrive and live on this planet. And we will no longer be protected by that. We will be outside of that. The International Space Station is protected by it. So the radiation levels are a bit higher at the International Space Station, but they are much higher once you leave that magnetic field. OK, la prochaine, quel aliment ou plat aimerais-tu manger pendant ta mission autour de la Lune? Dans le vrai, qu'est-ce que tu mangeras? Comme j'ai dit avant, cette première mission avec le Orion spacecraft, on n'a pas beaucoup d'espace, on ne peut pas apporter beaucoup de choses. Le système pour la nourriture, c'est pas complètement développé encore. On sait qu'on a seulement de l'eau, pas de l'eau chaude, par exemple, avec ce système. Alors, on va apporter la nourriture sèche et la nourriture qui est déjà préparée. Mais ça, c'est une des choses qu'on doit décider encore, comme un équipage, qu'est-ce qu'on va manger, qu'est-ce qu'on mangera pendant la mission. Qu'est-ce que je préfère? Ça m'intéresse beaucoup d'avoir des choses fraîches pendant la mission, mais on sait que ça ne sera pas possible pour nous autres. Non, par exemple, ici à l'Agence spatiale canadienne, ça c'est une de nos priorités, c'est de travailler sur l'élémentaire pour l'espace lointain. Alors un jour, on espère de faire pousser la nourriture sur la Lune. Mais si on peut faire ça un jour, bien sûr, on doit le faire ici sur la Terre avant. Alors ça, c'est un objectif pour l'Agence spatiale canadienne, c'est de travailler sur cet objectif maintenant, développer ou créer des solutions ici sur la Terre et un jour partager ça avec nos partenaires internationaux sur la Lune et un jour sur Mars. Et par exemple, maintenant, on a ici à l'agence un défi d'alimentation dans l'espace lointain et on va annoncer le gagnant en 2024. Okay, so now we're going to go to some of the live questions that are showing up here for me. Cynthia on Facebook is asking, how's your training going so far? So Cynthia, things have been going really well for us as a crew. We've been spending a lot of time sharing about this mission in both the United States and in Canada. We haven't had a lot of time to train since the announcement. We've had maybe about a week of training, like I was talking about earlier. We've done some geology training. We've been meeting with the teams. But our training officially is starting to line up for June 21st is when we're really going to dig into it kind of day after day with the teams, with the engineers and scientists at the Johnson Space Center and start figuring out, learning more about our spacecraft, more specifics, and starting to prepare for the test program that we need to do to get this vehicle ready to fly. Something that I think is interesting for people is, we don't really have a specific program to train our crew. It's just never been done before. No one's flown this vehicle. And so part of our job on Artemis II is to figure out that training program, figure out what does the crew really need to make sure we know everything we need to know to safely accomplish this mission. So we'll be figuring that out as we go along, recording all of that and determining what will be required for Artemis III and further on. All right, a question from Ava, grade 6 student in Calgary. What encouraged you to push yourself as much as you did and as hard as you worked to get where you are today? And then why? That's a good question. I have to think about that a little bit. I was just in this building today. We are listening to 4 people who worked in the early space program for Canada. They're pioneers in the Canadian space program. And at the end of that program, someone was asking about work-life balance. And the answer was kind of funny. One of the gentlemen, Mac Evans, who was a former president of the Canadian Space Agency, said, well, maybe the 4 people up here don't have that answer precisely. And I've been thinking about that a little bit since he said it. And what kind of strikes me is, the goal in life is to enjoy it, to have fun, to be happy. That's really your goal in life. And then on top of that, you want to make a contribution to society. We can't, the way we've developed our society, we can't live on this planet, you can't survive, you can't just have food and things show up without making a contribution. It's a team effort to survive here on this planet. And so your goal is to be happy. And so when I look back at the things I did, they were just things I wanted to do. I think in your question you said you push yourself as much as you did. Well, it's true. I worked hard, but it made me happy. And I still work hard today. I work here at the agency with a lot of people that work really hard, but I see smiles on their faces. And I know that inside of them, they realize that they're making an important contribution to society. I was just speaking with them yesterday, but I was remarking, the people that work here at the agency, they're putting check marks in the win column for society. There are things happening in our world that aren't making it a better place, but what we do here at the Canadian Space Agency is definitely a contribution to making the world a better place. And I guess that's why it's made me happy to work hard over the years, because I feel like the things I've been doing have been A, interesting to me, fun to do. They brought really cool people together to do them. And now when I look back at it, the things I'm working on are adding value to society. So that's what motivates me. And that's kind of been my experience. Even when I was young, even your age, that was the stuff I liked to do. I liked to play sports on a team of people who liked to do similar things. That was fun for me. I joined the Air Cadet program when I was 12. That brought people together to do, to push themselves, like you say, but to accomplish things they were interested in. Like I wanted to fly airplanes, and I got to do that in the cadet program. So I guess, Ava, what I would say to you is just figure out what you like to do, and then it won't feel like you're pushing so hard. It'll feel like you're having fun. Diego on YouTube, how are you mentally preparing yourself for the mission? Well, how am I preparing myself? I guess, Diego, I've been preparing myself for a long time. I've had a lot of experiences that I've slowly built on. I mentioned Air Cadet program really prepared me, gave me a lot of skills in life. I joined the Royal Canadian Air Force, became a pilot there. I've learned a lot. I've been working with the Canadian Space Agency and my colleagues at NASA for almost 14 years, and I'm just constantly building upon my experiences, which helped me. I think maybe one of the most important things I would pass on to you is, and I realized this some time ago now, but sometimes we look at other people and we think, wow, they're really incredible. They have everything together, and if I could just be like them, that doesn't really resonate with me anymore now that I have the perspective I have and I look back upon it. I would just tell you, your best is good enough. You do have to work hard, you do have to do your best, but your best is good enough. And that is how our team will get through this mission. And we will sort things into like different categories. We will sort things into a category that's like, this will kill us. If we make a mistake on this, we will die. And then we will develop systems to make sure we don't make a mistake. We will develop systems to back one another up to make sure that there are two sets of eyes, or two brains on those decision points that could, where we could do something that would kill us. And then we'll have other categories that would affect the mission, and we'll develop procedures that we'll follow to make sure we don't make those mistakes. And then there'll be other stuff that'll be like, well, if that happens, we'll just ask for help from the ground, and we'll do that as a team. So these are the things that give me confidence that we can accomplish this, to accomplish this mission. But I guess what I'd like you to understand, it's not because we're superhuman that we can go do this. We're not convincing ourselves of that. We know we're just like everyone else. We just need to develop procedures and processes to help us accomplish it. All right, question from the grade 6 class at Russell Public School. How big is the spacecraft that you will be flying around the moon? Well, it's not very big. The Orion spacecraft that we'll be in when we leave low Earth orbit and head out around the moon is about, for us, it'd be sort of like going car camping in a minivan. That's about the amount of space we'll have. Now, mind you, we're floating, so that kind of makes it more usable space, but it's pretty tight quarters. And so the four of us are going to be, we're already really good friends, but we're going to be even better friends when we get back from that mission. Yeah, but we're excited about that challenge. And if you want to look up a little bit more, you can go on the web and look up the Orion capsule, and you can see what it looks like inside and get an idea of that. All right, question from YouTube. I was wondering, what are the impacts of training, traveling, and missions on your family, and how do you deal with it together? Yeah, so I'm married and I have 3 children. My son is 18. He's graduating from high school this year, and my girls are 17, and they're just 1 year behind him. So this job does have a lot of travel and training associated with it, and so we've had to sort of adapt to that over the years. There's just this kind of normal routine that we're in, that that I leave the family for a week at a time, usually like a week a month. I'm gone from the family. The way I sort of look at it is, especially at this phase of our life as a family, what matters is quality time. So we're not going to have the quantity of time. We're not going to see each other every night, but we can talk to each other. We can chat. We can FaceTime. But most importantly, we need to have quality time. So some of the things that are most precious to me are our opportunities to go backpacking together as a family, or just to be on vacation and hanging out as a family. These are the most important things to me. But what I've been really grateful for is my family's been super supportive, all of this time while I've been working here in the space program. And now that I'm assigned to this mission, they're just really authentically excited for me. They're very supportive. They want to be part of it. And so maybe you'll get to know them a little bit over the course of this mission as well, because they really, it's become obvious to me that they really understand the significance for humanity to set big goals like going to the moon and to bring people together to accomplish them. They really understand that this is important. None of them, necessarily intend to work in the space industry, but they understand the benefit of that sort of approach to things. And I think that that's what makes them want to be a part of it. All right, question from YouTube. Was there a moment in your life where being an astronaut felt impossible? And would you kindly share how you navigated and faced that? Yeah, that's interesting. Definitely, I mean, I can't necessarily tell you a specific point, but definitely there were times throughout my life where I thought, oh wow, like, you know, this is not leading me towards being an astronaut. Originally, when I joined the military, it wasn't possible for me to join as a pilot, and that's what I wanted to do. And I falsely thought that that was going to be important for becoming an astronaut. And so that took me a while to find a way to become a military pilot, because, you know, not because I needed that to be an astronaut, but because that was important to me. But that was a big setback for me. And I'll tell you, one of the most important things is to know that you have to accept where you are in the moment. You may think to yourself, wow, this is a devastating outcome for me right now. And you're going to feel that. But in the back of your mind, you have to know the right answer. You just have to keep telling it to yourself, this is going to work out okay. And you just have to remember, where do you want to end up? And keep telling people that's where you want to go, asking people to help you, and stay. You have to be persistent. You have to persevere through these things and just keep trying, and eventually you will find a way. There's one thing I can guarantee you in your life. If you set a goal and you draw a straight line from where you are now to there, that is not how you will get there. It will be a curvy line, and there will be bumps along the way. And you just have to know where you want to go, ask for help, and then persist. And I'll just elaborate on that a little bit more. Even when the astronaut recruitment call came out, I applied. I knew I was going to apply, and I felt very confident that I could do the job. But I was also like almost 100% sure that I would not be selected. And that's just human nature, to think that we're not quite good enough, or we're not quite as good as everyone else. And I definitely felt that way. All right, we have time for one more question. Has anyone ever told you that you look like Buzz Lightyear? Yes, I had that recently on an interview live on national TV, where they brought up a picture of Buzz Lightyear, and that was exactly what they were looking at. So here's my second time doing that live. Okay, well, thanks, everyone. That's all the time we have. I really appreciate you joining me today. It's fun just to share a little bit about what we're doing here. I have so much pride for humanity that we're doing these things, that we're setting big goals. I really believe in the benefits. I don't think that space is the magic solution to all of our problems on the Earth, but I am 100% convinced that setting big goals in space is one of the pillars of working towards a better future here on the planet. And I think the Artemis program is big, bold. It brings international collaboration together, which is key to the solutions we need for the planet. And so I'm very excited about what we're doing, and I'm glad I have an opportunity to share a little bit with you about that today. Merci beaucoup tout le monde pour les questions. You can follow my training, my preparation for Artemis II on both my social media channels and the CSA, the Canadian Space Agency channels as well. Thanks again. Have a great day. So long.